Happy New Year! Today it's middle of January. The sun is shining, finally. A couple of months that the sun was not really coming out. Really gray here in Berlin and around. I'm back into the boat shed after the holidays, finally to start working on the boat. The plan for today is to start removing the anti-fouling and eventually the bottom paint. I want to start today. I don't think I will be able to manage to finish anything, but the sooner I start, the better it is. I have 3 months to remove the paint and the anti-fouling, apply a new coat of bottom paint and anti-fouling, and then putting the boat in the water again. This is the minimum maintenance work that I want to do for this season, and everything else I can do it also when the boat is in the water. So this is what I want to do. I bought this tool. It's a scraper for removing paint with a carbide blade. It was advertised in many videos that I've seen, and it has an attachment for my vacuum cleaner. So now I will start with this and see how it goes. A little bit of unboxing. So this is the scraper with the blade. It's like 4 or 5 centimeter wide. There's an attachment, I guess, for the vacuum cleaner. Now I will try. I give it a try. It's pretty aggressive. I think I went through easily through the anti-fouling, and I don't know if it's a bottom paint or if it's another anti-fouling. So there's the blue from the anti-fouling, then there's some white, then some brown, and then we have the yellow from the gel coat, I guess. So I need to be careful because the blade, the carbide blade, is really sharp, but yeah, it cuts through really easy and doesn't make any dust or any dirt. It's all caught up from the vacuum cleaner. This is the result of almost 2 hours of work. This is less than I expected in terms of how much time and how much effort it takes to remove this paint and the anti-fouling down to the gel coat. Also, the scraper is really aggressive. I need to be really careful. I had a couple of spots where I went down through the gel coat to the fiberglass. This is not good. But I also found some spots where there were some blisters. So anyhow, I need to do some work on the gel coat before painting. Yeah, it's almost midday. I will go on a little bit. I also did a little bit of this fin here to see how it goes. If it's easier, actually, when the surface is vertical, it's way easier to do it than almost horizontal. So I cannot imagine how it will be to remove the paint from down there. Yeah, I'm not sure if this was a good idea. Probably would have been better just to lightly sand the existing anti-fouling and then apply a new coat and not do this in this season. But now I feel like I started and I have to go through. I think that unless there's a better method, maybe with a sander or with the angle grinder, or I don't know, this will take me several days of really hard work in very uncomfortable positions. So yeah, this is the result of not knowing what you're doing. So I'm going forward, and there are some places where the paint is flaking, and you can even do it with a little spatula. Now I think I reached the point where it's not dry anymore. My hands and my arms are very sore now. It's like 2.5 hours, almost 3, that I'm working on this, and I didn't make so much, to be honest. So I found a very dry spot. So you see, it's really easy to peel it with a little spatula, and this is great because I don't need to use the scraper, and it takes like 1/10 of the time. This is why I think it's a good idea to make it. €5 spatula wins over this, I don't know, I think €30 tool. So this is really good to remove one layer, but this one, if you find a leading edge, like that is dry, it peels everything out. Yeah, I feel better now. I was very depressed in the last 3 hours, having to think to do it with this scraper, but if this dry leading edge can go all through the keel, I'm done in a couple of days instead of maybe weeks. The only downside is that with the scraper, with the vacuum, I was not making any mess. With this spatula, I'm trying to fill a bucket, but it's a mess. The day is over. I think I had roughly 6 hours with some pauses, but this is what I achieved. I came basically till here, and on the other side as well. This is not so much. I think it's like, I don't know, 10, 15, not more than that, maybe 20%. I think probably this was the easiest part in terms of comfort, because I could sit with my head not touching the bottom of the boat, while what is left now is mostly not so far from the ground, so there will be a little bit of a difficulty to reach and work under these conditions. So let's see, I'm coming here tomorrow morning as well. Let's see how much I can do. I clean up, I filled up a bucket, and I think that there's so there was the gel coat, the yellow one. On top there's a thin layer of a gray paint, and then there's a copper anti-fouling actually. And then on top of that, at least 1 or maybe 2 other coats of anti-fouling. And now what is flaking, what I'm able to remove with the spatula, is the 2, maybe 1, I don't know, layers of anti-fouling, the blue one, and basically what I have now, it's a thin layer of copper paint, but it goes really easily off if I scrape it a little bit too hard or if I sand it. So my plan is to remove everything, and then tomorrow I will also try, so before I remove everything, but I want to try also how it looks like with a little bit of sanding, what I can do also in terms of difficulty and how much dust and stuff like this. So that's it for today. I'm sorry for the light, but as you can see, I'm sitting just under the boat after having spent a couple of hours this morning, Sunday morning, removing the paint, the bottom paint and the anti-fouling. So here you can see what's the status. I pretty much remove a couple of layers, still these copper paint that was I don't know when it was put, but on top of it I think there were at least 1 or 2 layers of anti-fouling, and those are the ones that I can easily peel away with the spatula. And yeah, in some areas, as you can see here, it's not so easy to remove. The blade doesn't have an edge, and I think it depends how thick the paint is. In some areas is thicker, in some areas is thinner, and I believe that this is what makes the difference when I try to remove it. In some areas where it's a little bit thicker, it's super easy to remove. It peels away just when you have a leading edge, and then you take out really big chunks of it. In other areas like here and in some other spots, there's something. Either there's some water. I think that I found a handful of spots, but probably there will be more along the keel where there's some blisters and osmosis. So this is another thing that I will need to take care in the future. But okay, I'm pretty happy on how the progress have been, at least in these 2 days. I think that with maybe 3 other weekends, I will be done with removing the paint. I also try to use the orbital sander to remove some of the paint. This is a place where I was using the scraper at the very beginning, and I was not really happy with the result. And here you can see I used the orbital sander to remove the copper paint or the remaining pieces, and I used 60 grit here, and I try also 40, but it's really rough here with the 60. It's not so rough, but it's better, and the copper paint comes away really easily. I also use it here on the pinna, on this fin. Here it looks really nice. It's a bit rough, the gel coat, but I think it's good also for painting. So the plan now is I will continue removing the paint, the layers that I can peel off easily with the scraper and the spatula. In some areas probably I can use also like 40, 60, maybe 80 grit to remove where the paint where I cannot really easily with the spatula anymore. I tried a little bit in the very at the bow where there's some very the paint really peels off easily, so going to the bow, the area that I have to peel off the paint reduces, so that's great. It's easier to access because yeah, the size is not so big, so I don't need to go under the boat like I had to do here at the stern. And there are places where the paint peels off really easily. So this is the status for the moment. Just wanted to show you how the landscape looks like in the winter. This is the ramp. There's the pier where usually my boat is moored, and this is the lake. Last year around this time the lake was starting to freeze over, and by mid of February was completely not completely, but especially in the parts where it's narrower, were frozen. You can cross the lake on foot. Not really recommended for safety reason, but it was possible. It was like 10 centimeters thick. Let's see if this winter will be cold as the last one, and if the lake will freeze, but I don't think so. So till the next time,
Thank you very much.